It's
Oh, I
impossible.
know.
when they're not really offended.
I always say guys. I'm from the Midwest. That's kind of what
Yeah.
we say. It's
Yeah.
like in Texas they say y'all, and we say hey guys instead of hey y'all. You
Yeah.
know
I'm from Detroit. Guys describes everyone.
Yes.
That was what it was.
exactly.
But now you say theys.
Theys.
You
That-
theys?
I say Z's.
Yes, you say z's.
Well,
I
I
punched
did. I
myself
did
in the
a
face.
speech before a group of young women a little over a year ago, and I said God did not create us to be equal to men, and now they're using that in commercials. You know, God created women to be uniquely female.
Yeah.
Just like God did not create men to be equal to women. You do not have the ability to bear a child. Women do.
Hate
you talked
speech.
about the natural order.
Yeah.
And now they're using that in a commercial, and I'm like, okay, they're trying to turn that into like a sexist thing. It's just a fact. We have ovaries, we have a uterus, we have the ability to bear a child.
Right.
And we're really
Hey
he
folks,
created us to be
welcome to the Dark
partners.
Horse
Yeah.
Men
podcast
to be
live
strong,
stream
women
number
to-
137.
We're
is it?
strong in our own way
137?
as well. I mean, in
137.
some ways, I
I
think women are stronger.
Yeah.
But we each have our own beautiful purpose, and they're trying to go against that right now, and it's really disturbing.
No, I agree. Women are stronger in many ways, just not pull-ups. And I would, and I don't.
And this is why, frankly, women's sports and girls' sports, we don't want to compete with the guys. We don't want, as President Trump says, when he does his whole swimming thing, when the swimmer's going by and he's creating whitewater waves.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hard to compete with Michael Phelps, even if you are the best female swimmer in the world.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And these are things that would have been self-explanatory. These are things that shouldn't be controversial, and that's why I really appreciate. I really appreciate. Sorry, I see you right here on the webcam, and you look better in person, and so I'm stuttering. It's like the old cartoon. Sorry, Carrie Lake's children. No, I think it's for example, you just said women have a uterus. Women have ovaries. Most of this is sexist. So let's change now to transphobic. Let's be honest. Ovaries, the ability to carry a baby, way more useful than a penis. Let's be clear. This is a very limited use.
A penis wreaks havoc.
Yes.
Well,
Whereas,
Depending
it's all
on the
needed. It's all needed to accomplish the mission.
yes. No, you're absolutely right. Dave, this is a nice lady.
I didn't mean to say.
She just talked about the
Dave, my children are watching.
I'm sorry.
No, but this is absolutely true. And there's, they're about to turn 1 this week. Twins, 1 boy, 1 girl.
That's awesome.
And anyone who says there are not innate differences, go and have a twin boy and a twin girl. It is remarkable. But seeing it in real time, even as a useless father in the first year, where basically I'm just ratcheting them down to a captain's chair while I make sure the other one doesn't die, that I change one. Like, twins are very difficult. But the coordination changes. For example, she was very dexterous. She was able to grab her pacifier. She was starting to mouth words. She was whereas he was just, biting his fist. But then you put him in the jumper, and you're like, he's going to jump through the roof. The large motor movement patterns. You can see them evolve at a totally different rate. And it's a beautiful thing. And this is the problem. I think we've taken things beautiful and just muddied them up.
And some of the people who are pushing so drastically against that haven't even had children to even see that amazing difference in our genders.
Yeah.
And can you imagine them wanting to raise your kids just kind of like you're not he or you're not she, and it's just confusing them, and it's causing them great confusion.
Yeah.
That unnecessary confusion.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I painted his room blue just because it was not age appropriate to give him a Budweiser and a Lady Night. No, it's one of those things you just encourage what they are. And let me ask you this, speaking of this, because you worked obviously in media. And I know you've answered this before, so I apologize for having to ask this because I kind of know the answer. But some people will say, and I think it's right, that people are leery of what they would consider wolves in sheep's clothing. That you were, for a period of time, you were a Republican, and you were a Democrat, and then you switched back, from my understanding, in 2012. I believe I know the answer, but can you make sure you clarify to these people who may not know what happened there and why the switch?
Yeah, I grew up, I don't know how old you are, but I grew up with President Ronald Reagan as the president of my youth primarily. When I was 18, I registered as a Republican. I've been a Republican all my adult life except for 4 years when I registered as a Democrat and 2 as an independent. And I actually had 2 little kids. They weren't twins, but they were a year and a half apart. And I'm watching the Iraq War rage on, and I'm thinking, which one of these guys is going to end it? And it was Barack Obama and John McCain. And as a reporter in Arizona, I, at that time, had covered John McCain for a couple of decades, and I knew it wasn't going to be him that would end this war. And so I took a chance on a Barack Obama. And, you know, we were happy to support the first black president, thinking we would bring this country together and really kind of heal any racial divide or wound that we had. But obviously that didn't happen. So, but, you know, I don't see that as a big issue, because we're looking right now at Americans who are waking up in record numbers. You know, they have that walk away movement, walk away from the Democrat Party. I call it like the sprint away movement now, because the policies that the left is pushing on this country are so destructive that people are waking up to the lies of the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
We all have that kind of moment that we woke up. And I will remind you of this, 10 million Obama voters in 2016 crossed over and brought us President Donald J. Trump, thank God.
Right. No,
So I just believe that people can open their eyes, wake up, and change. And, you know, unfortunately, we didn't have any good choices back then between Obama and McCain. For a long time in the middle, we didn't have very good choices.
Well, you mean you weren't thrilled about Romney? No, I agree with you. It was really tough, especially after George W. Bush. I think a decent man, not the greatest president, between Obama and McCain. They seemed like two sides of the same coin, and I understand, especially sort of like a Donald Trump, who was against a lot of these wars. And looking back, I think there were some missteps. I supported the war in Afghanistan after 9/11, but I think we all would have done it a little bit differently. So I understand it, and I would encourage people to look at your record.
You know, I'll tell you this, I support absolutely our military, 1,000%. But we, the people, were lied to about Iraq. We were lied to, and that's what got us into the war. And that bothers me. We lost a lot of good men and women there.
Yeah.
And I love that President Trump, he never started a war. He tried to get us out of every war. We were on the verge of getting out of Afghanistan in a very peaceful way, where there was calm. And then Joe Biden, he's just disastrous in every way, pulled out of Afghanistan and caused just horrible problems.
Right.
That we're still dealing with.
Yeah, well, they were just talking about it on CNN today. What's the name of the reporter? She was wearing a hijab in Afghanistan. And they were talking about, well, you know, and the Taliban said that they were going to treat women more fairly, but they lied to us. Like, who'd have thought a known terrorist organization wasn't straightforward?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's the worst thing they do is fib.
Yes, exactly. All right, well, before, we're going to go to Mug Club as well, so we can continue discussing this without getting in trouble on YouTube. But I know for people who want to learn more about you, and particularly people in Arizona, like you said, you're obviously running for governor there.
Yes.
Where can they go to support you?
KariLake.com, KariLake.com, and you can find out more of where I stand on the issues. I think it's what I love about our website is that I lay out all of our policies.
That's true.
You know, you go to some politician's site and it's like one.
Надо было на том мосту вступить в бой после скана. А я глупанул. А то, по идее, квест сделал. Пять трупов, по идее. 7. Это последний, с которым я сражался. Да, вот этот парень меня убил. Это парень из Баунти. 3 раза положил. Сольника, даже не помню. Первый самый, который я убил, даже не помню, где это был. На видео посмотрю. Уи. Выполнен квест. О, почти все хорошо. Ладно, хорошая была игра.